Aloha, my friends. How are you all doing out there? We survived the lunar eclipse. Yeah, super big energy. I was blown away by the potency of all the energy that's been coming up. It laid me out a couple days, just had to rest, and I've been doing my best to make this video for you, and it's just been one thing after the other. So I think maybe Pluto retrograde and Mercury retrograde and just the whole combination has been a challenge for all of you as well. So I really feel called to get on here and go deep into the lunar eclipse, into all of the other planetary things that are occurring simultaneously. From the start of the solar eclipse, which was April 9th, was a lot of intensity. And now, between now and May 15th, we have Mercury retrograde. And so let's just say from April 19th until May 15th, I'm designating as a pressure cooker time where there is just a lot of intensity. And I'm going to go deep into that today. I'm going to go over what's happening astrologically and hopefully bring you some clarity and some peace of mind. Simply that our souls, our hearts, our minds, our bodies have asked to rise higher, to ascend into greater expansion. And so in order to meet that goal, we are having to allow this huge purging of a lot of very, very dense energy. And I'm going to explain how astrologically that may be showing up for us in a more exact sort of way. So hang tight, get comfortable, and I'm going to go deep into it. I'm going to share my screen with you. I would love to hear from you all how you have been doing. Really, really intense, and grateful to be here with you live and bringing you the best, most accurate, true to the stars, accurate to the actual sky, sidereal astrology. My name is Lotus Dawn Goldcool. I offer one-on-one astrology readings, healing, and I also just got to lead my first group sidereal astrology reading and healing. So I'm offering parties if you want to bring in astrological information and healing for you and your group of friends. It's really eye-opening, really revolutionary, and really powerful. So I'm really excited to be adding that to my list of offerings. Also, if you are someone who's really having a lot come up right now and you're just like, what in the holy God is going on? I would like to extend an offer for a free 15-minute mini reading where you can meet me, get to know me a little bit, and I'll tell you where, what house, which means which arena of your life, all of these planetary things are affecting you personally. So welcome today to today's reading, Lunar Eclipse. I'm calling this the full rebirth because it is always darkest before the dawn. And just like birth, it is always the most intense before the birth. And we are in that period today. We have just gone through a full lunar eclipse yesterday. It's also called the flower moon because it is the time of the year when all the beautiful flowers are blooming. And so it's so interesting living on a planet of so much polarity, how we can have so much beauty and so much challenge. So let's get into it. What in the world is going on astrologically right now? If you want to take a screenshot of this, this kind of gives you a nice layout of the timeline. So April 19th, of course, we had the solar eclipse. And then immediately after that, the sun went into Aries, which is a fire sign. It's hot, it's aggressive, it's action-oriented. Simultaneously, 5 other planets went into fire: the sun, Mercury, Uranus, North Node, Pluto, Vesta, all into fire signs. Pluto is in Sagittarius, the rest all in Aries, all very important, powerful chess players in the astrological chess game of life. And April 21st, Mercury went retrograde. So that was the first shifting of the energy. And it's kind of a challenge because Aries is symbolized by the ram and charging forward. And Mercury retrograde is all about going back. And so the natural inclination of this season is to take massive direct action. And so to have the retrograde happen right at the beginning of that full charge of energy forwards is a little bit staggering. It's a little bit off-putting. Okay. And my guess for this is that there could be some really powerful things happening this year, and universe is preparing us by saying, get ready, right? Prepare yourself, do the things you need to do. Look back at your records, make sure you're clear, make sure your travel plans are super lined up, because Mercury also rules travel. And so when Mercury is retrograde, travel plans can be a little bit interesting. It's a good time to be extra cautious, extra careful, really plan things out well. And then we had our lunar eclipse. And not only did we have our lunar eclipse, but we had it right in the midst of Mercury retrograde, conjunct the planet Uranus. And so Uranus is sudden unexpected change, things shifting unexpectedly. So what basically we're having is a whole lot of fire, right? With all these signs in fire, we're having Mercury retrograde, which takes all that fire and then causes us to look back in the past towards things we've already done and things we need to attend to. So it's like we're being pulled in kind of different directions here. Part of our psyche wants to charge forwards like wild horses, and part of our psyche is like, nope, you actually got to slow down. Okay. And at the same time, we had Pluto on, and this is really interesting. Around May 1st, Pluto went retrograde. And Pluto is also in a fire sign. And on that same day, and Pluto can be representative by volcanic passion, eruption, power, and Pluto went retrograde. And on that day, there's actually a volcano that exploded in California. And so what that can do when Pluto is retrograde is Pluto is representative of the deep subconscious, all the power that is hidden below the surface, a little bit like an iceberg, like a volcano, everything that is above, we don't always see what's below. And so Pluto represents below. It's also the god of the underworld. It's sex, it's death, it's rebirth, it's tantric energy. It is the phoenix, it is Scorpio energy. And so when Pluto goes retrograde, it brings all the shadows, all the secrets, all the things that have been hiding out, not being talked about, not being discussed. And that could be personally, individually, it could be in our workplace, it could be in our families, it could be in our careers, depending on where Pluto is landing in your chart specifically. And so a lot is being brought up. It could be in the media, the government, secrets are being exposed, the lid is being torn off, and things are coming to the surface. Whew. And there is a lot of disclosure, my friends, coming, because we have all this Mercury retrograde, which is the past, it's information, it's communication, it's the media. So a lot of information is coming up to the surface to be revealed. And in fact, Venus, the planet of love, the planet of money, the planet of things that we love to do, moved into Gemini today, May 6th. And Gemini is an air sign. Gemini loves to communicate, and it loves to share, and it loves to network. So whatever secrets are being brought up to the surface, you better believe that they are just spreading. The information is getting to where they needs to be gotten. And the level of awareness and information and clarity that we are all going to be having is off the charts. At the same time, we are dealing with that Pluto retrograde. And so much deep, emotional, volcanic, passionate, deep energy is coming up to the surface. And really, depending on which chart in your house that is happening, will really say a lot about which arena of your life will be most affected. Okay, so that said, all of this aside, we have a huge aspect happening on May 9th. And so we're like processing all this stuff that's started happening April 19th, right? It's just been bam, bam, bam. And on May 9th, Uranus, the planet of sudden unexpected things, the new age, doing things differently, electricity, its symbol is the lightning bolts. So it can be like amazing invention, amazing ideas. It's the sign of the scientist, the sign of like the tech person who's discovering new technology to support and uplift the planet. And it is conjuncting, it's going to be exactly in the same constellation of ARies, which is courage and leadership and charging forwards and taking new action and pioneering, on May 9th. So Uranus is going to be sending a lightning bolt of inventiveness, ideas, change, shift, to be illuminated by the sun on May 9th. And that can create huge change. That can bring, what one astrologer I heard predicted was that The sun represents leadership, kings, queens, the rulers of the land. And when the sun conjuncts Uranus, which is change, there could be, since we're coming up to a presidential election, there could be a surprise candidate. There could be someone who comes just out of nowhere and lights up the scene, and it's like a total surprise. And so that's one prediction that I've heard. And other ways that can show up is in your own life. Things could just come up out of nowhere, just unexpected lightning bolts of something, awareness, right? Combined with Pluto being retrograde, our deep unconscious emotions coming up, Mercury being retrograde, us having to, with Mercury retrograde, get out of our linear mind a bit, because our linear mind is not going to be functioning its normal way. It's going to be much more like you've got to use your intuition. You've got to use your emotional senses. You've got to tune in. You got to sense what's happening with Mercury retrograde, because the linear land of thinking, when it goes retrograde, it shifts into a much more intuitive, much more empathic, sensitive vibration. And so with that retrograde, Pluto retrograde, and then this Uranus conjunct the sun, plus the lunar eclipse we just had, holy God, it is a lot going on. So let's unpack this a little bit. So I wanted to show you the chart from May 5th, when we had our beautiful, powerful lunar eclipse. And I wanted to show you the first thing that I saw that really stood out to me. And they say that a lunar eclipse will affect us for the next 6 months. So we have the sun conjunct Uranus on that day. And we're coming into an exact conjunction between the sun and Uranus on May 9th. But they were coming into what is called orb, or close to each other. They're becoming neighbors. They were beginning to have energetic connection, opposing the moon on the lunar eclipse. So here we have May 5th, the full flower moon, lunar eclipse in the sign sidereal Aries, the sun in Aries, moon in Libra. And if you're expecting me to say that the sun was in Scorpio, the moon was in Taurus, I do True to the Stars 13 sign astrology, which is based on the actual location of the stars and is not, is accurate. Whereas Western astrology is based on where the stars were 2,000 years ago and is no longer accurate to the actual sky. If you'd like to learn more, I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel, and you're free to ask questions, but this is accurate to the actual sky. It's accurate to the actual stars. Western astrology is accurate to where the stars were 2,000 years ago, is no longer lined up to the constellations at all, and are in fact more based on the seasons. Some people say that Western astrology should be called seasonology, because you're being told that your sun sign is one thing, but in reality, it's probably about 1 sign degree back if you want to base it on the actual stars and where they were at the moment of your birth. So if you have questions, if you're curious about what your actual sign is based on the stars and the moment of your birth, please reach out. I'm happy to gift you that information. And so, yeah, we had our full moon lunar eclipse, sun opposite the moon on Friday, May 5th. It was at 8:14 a.m. So it was early in the day. And I talked to a lot of people who said that they felt kind of heavy that day, just kind of like a heavier energy. I've noticed that lunar eclipses tend to feel heavier and solar eclipses tend to feel lighter and more expansive. So I'm curious to hear what that was like for you. But on this lunar eclipse, we had not only the sun, which is our soul energy, self-expression, and the moon, which is our emotional nature, opposite, which creates tension. But we also had Mercury being retrograde next to the sun and Uranus thrown in. And Mercury retrograde, again, is about exploring the past ways in which we have communicated, we have expressed ourselves. And when it is in the sign of Aries, this could relate to ways in which we've taken action, we've been courageous, or we haven't been courageous. So it can really address issues of taking action, having courage, having bravery to take action, to go forwards. If you're someone who's in a position right now where you had this big plan, this idea, you wanted to take lots of movement and act on it. And then all of a sudden you found yourself suddenly feeling like you just couldn't move forwards. And you're like, what happened? And that was Mercury going retrograde. And it's in Aries, and Aries is about taking action. And so when Mercury is retrograde in Aries, our ability to act, it's like it takes a really lot of courage to just go, right? Sometimes you just have to go. And when Mercury goes retrograde in the sign that just likes to go, you kind of lose that impulsivity a little bit and you get a little more cautious, which is actually good with the Mercury retrograde, because they say that any decision you make during Mercury retrograde is actually going to flip-flop and you're going to go the other way when it goes forwards. And so that's a big shout out to everyone who's in a relationship right now, because any decision you make about breakups or what you want to do in the relationship might actually flip-flop when we come out of the retrograde on May 15th. So that will be really interesting to watch for and see if that happens. And I want to point out that the sign that the sun is in Aries for the lunar eclipse. And Aries is about independence. It's about individuality, being single. It's singular. All about I am. It's all about, Aries tend to be very self-centered. It's all about I, right? How I feel, what I want to do. And is very, I'd say the biggest challenge for Aries is relationship. And so this full moon, the moon was in Libra, and Libra is all about relationship. It's all about harmony. It's all about beauty. It's all about we, right? How can we do this? What can we do? How can we work together? And so they were directly opposite, creating this tension or polarity at the most extreme of I versus we. And when there's that kind of tension in a relationship, especially where both people are attempting to get their needs met, that kind of tension can be very, very intense. And it can provoke the need to be like, well, that's it. I break up. It's over. I'm done. When the reality is, that tension of the full moon is probably actually bringing to the surface very deep wounding, pain, probably from childhood, could be from past lives, could be ancestral. And so what really is beneficial here is to pause and maybe like get space from your loved ones. If you know there's an Aries Libra full moon eclipse, to really assess, who am I? What do I need? What do I need personally? And then what would I like to have happen in my relationship? And instead of like duking it out with the partner, returning back to yourself and back to your needs and what you desire and reassessing everything from there. I really recommend space for couples right now. There's just so much happening that it seems like very difficult because everyone is being triggered right now on very deep, profound levels. And it's so easy to think that it's that person next to us triggering us when the reality is it's always in us. It's always in us. Of course, we have to learn to set boundaries. We have to learn to say no to things that do not support us. However, sometimes both people are being triggered and it's really hard to see the forest for the trees, right? It's hard to really get what's happening because we're just blinded by all the stuff that's coming through us and out of us and being triggered to come up. And one of the biggest gifts and biggest blessings of a partnership is its ability to help us trigger up all that stuff that hasn't been healed and release it. And actually being triggered is actually a godsend and a blessing because it means that some part of us that wasn't serving us gets to come up, it gets to get triggered. And then ideally we're going to hold it. We're going to give it love. We're going to give it space and we're going to let it transmute and we're going to let it release. So if you're going through like a confusing emotional relationship situation or anything else in your life, I want you to know that you're not alone. This is happening across the globe, and this is just one portion of what's happening right now. So this is the imagery I found to represent this Pluto retrograde. We have the Phoenix, and Phoenix is the symbol of death and rebirth. So we've got, the moon and the sun in opposition, relationship and self kind of coming into this tension. And simultaneously, we've got Pluto going retrograde. which is bringing up our deep early childhood traumas, past life trauma, ancestral trauma. And it's sort of like a death and a rebirth. It's bringing all that stuff up so that it can be healed, so that it can be cleared. And this is going to be going on for a while, this Pluto retrograde energy. It's going to be going on for like the next 3 months or so. So yeah, everyone take a deep breath. Depending on which arena of your chart, right? In a chart, you have 12 houses. Each house represents a different arena of your life, from the first house representing your identity, the second house representing money, the 10th house representing career, the 7th house relationship. And so by sign, whatever sign is on that house will determine which house Pluto retrograde is affecting you personally. So for me, it's actually affecting my 4th house of the home. And sure enough, I'm having to move right now. Like literally, just like Pluto in retrograde is like, you have to move immediately. And I was like, oh my God. And it's been bringing up so much emotional stuff from childhood, from past lives. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking about you all out there. And I'm just like wondering, like which arena of your life is this affecting? And I just want to send you so much compassion for it, because Pluto's not necessarily super compassionate. It's kind of like the compassion of a father or a strong teacher who's helping you to heal something that maybe you haven't wanted to heal or to look at. And it can feel really intense and very deep. And so I just want to really send you this message of compassion, to have compassion for yourself and to have compassion for all the things that are coming up for you right now that maybe you're unclear as to what it is, especially if it's past life or ancestral. You don't even know. It's just like, oh, it's like waves of emotion. So I just really want to invite you to, come to a place of compassion with yourself and release the judgment. Know that this is happening collectively for yourself, for others, for the whole planet, and get support. I really recommend doing energy healing right now, because it's been saving me a lot of time to really start to dial in and test what arena of my life this is triggering. Oh, this is triggering a past life issue. Okay, what is it? Okay, clear it. This is triggering an ancestral thing. Okay, when, what, clear it. And then the space. Your body's wanting to clear out a lot of density right now. And so it's all coming up. So finding the tools that work for you to release that stuff is super, super helpful right now. And if you don't know anyone and you would like to work with me, I'm available. I love to assist people in identifying and releasing what is being brought up in an easeful, loving way. So reach out if that's something that would benefit or serve you. And we're rolling right along here from the solar eclipse to the Mercury retro, to the Pluto retro, to the lunar eclipse, to Uranus conjunct the sun. And so Uranus is lightning. It's unexpected. It's bolts of inspiration. It's inventiveness. Uranus people who are Aquarius. So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. It's the sign associated with it. And Aquarian people are sometimes called weird. They're eccentric. They march to the beat of their own drum, and they don't care what anyone thinks, because they're not here for what people think. They're here to create a new earth. They are here to bring more enlightenment to their brothers and sisters. They're very big-sighted in terms of seeing how we can support and serve all of humanity and not just ourselves. And so it's kind of a beautiful aspect, because the sun is illumination and light. It's the soul. And so we're having this huge like spark of inventiveness, ingenuity to the planet on May 9th. So it's really kind of a powerful, potent, beautiful energy. That said, I would recommend that you be careful. Uranus rules air travel, and it also rules can cause disruptions in the earth, like earthquakes, etc. So, just know that there's some sort of environmental effect from this Uranus conjunct the sun, and be cautious, be careful. Just know there's like this electric quality, and no changes in the air. What I mentioned earlier is that the sun conjunct Uranus can represent the sun can represent leaders of the earth, the leaders of the planet, the kings, the queens, the presidents, the politicians who lead the earth right now, the government. Not that they necessarily are the true rulers, because we each are, right? We're each sovereign beings here on this earth. But in this matrix situation that we're in, the rulers are represented by the sun. And so with Uranus conjunct the sun, there could be a huge surprise around a ruler on the planet. And one astrologer I listened to said she thought that it could mean that we have a surprise presidential candidate come out of nowhere and just surprise everyone with incredible power, energy, magnetism, and just sort of be a big surprise. But Uranus typically represents some kind of a big surprise. And so I think all of us are like, okay, wondering what this could be. I'm going to just pray that it's going to be a beautiful surprise, an uplifting surprise, a surprise that brings more light. It brings more joy. It brings more like transformation and ease that's beneficial for humanity, that supports us, that uplifts us, that brings lightness to the earth. Because what we think about and how we think affects the planet. And so I want to be really sure that when I bring you these planetary aspects, I'm also encouraging you to utilize your creative powers to co-create and visualize with me healing and light and transcendence and improvement. And so I want to invite you to join me in that visualization. That said, I have to share with you this picture. What in the world is this? So on the lunar eclipse, people are like, what is going on, right? Why are things being so intense right now? And so we have the sun was opposite the moon, conjunct Uranus and Mercury. And we have this beast right here called Cetus. And Cetus is the sea monster. Cetus is a huge constellation, as you can see, that the sun started running parallel to it in March 10th, in the beginning of Pisces, and has been running along. At first it was near the tail, then the belly, then the body, and now the sun is right around the third eye, or the snout of this beast. We're almost past it. And so this happened at the lunar eclipse. And so I felt like it would be a really good idea to tell the story of Cetus. It's very well known in Greek mythology, so as to assist you in maybe understanding a little bit more deeply about the intensity and the potency of this eclipse period. And so Cetus was a sea monster, and he was employed by King Neptune, the god of the sea. And Neptune heard Andromeda, this beautiful goddess here chained to the rock, is Princess Andromeda of Ethiopia. And she claimed to be more beautiful than King Neptune's sea nymphs, right? The women, the sirens of the sea that I guess were connected to King Neptune. And so he grew angry, and he commissioned Cetus to go and capture her and chain her to a rock and destroy her village. And Andromeda is sitting there. She's just, she feels like it's the end. There's danger all around. This is it, right? She's up against the wall. She doesn't feel like there's any hope. And then out of the blue, Perseus, one of the greatest Greek heroes of all time, arrives on his Pegasus, his winged horse, and he rescues her using the Gorgon's head, right, Medusa, to turn Cetus into stone, right? And so Andromeda is saved. She is rescued. She doesn't expect this. This is out of the blue, right? But a miracle happens. And that perhaps that's that Sun conjunct Uranus energy of some unexpected thing, but perhaps it's going to be positive. Perhaps it's going to be very uplifting. And not only is she rescued, but then Perseus takes her to Greece and he makes her into his queen. So Perseus takes Andromeda and falls in love with her and takes her to Greece to be the queen. And so this, it's a very romantic story that definitely relates to the romantic ideology of being rescued as a feminine, which I know maybe is a bit old-fashioned. So, but what I love about this story is this idea of hope, that here this beautiful princess, right, vulnerable, innocent, is faced up against this challenge where she thinks there's no way out. She's lost hope. I mean, she thinks this is it. And she finds redemption. She's rescued. She is saved. And not only is she saved, but then she is taken to an even more evolved, she's up-leveled to a whole new situation with a whole new reality, a whole new life where she's in an exalted higher position. And so my sense for all of us out there, that everyone going through this tumult and this change and just all this stuff that's happening for all of us, is I sense that it's really like this story where we're being tested to go into the deepest, most intense moments. And then at the last minute, there's going to be a surprise upliftment. And we're actually going to rise up higher and go even farther than we thought was possible. Just like when the caterpillar is in its shell and it's so yucky and gooey and melty and just, ugh, right? And then it just surprises everyone and becomes this beautiful butterfly. I truly feel that that is what we are on the brink of. And so I just thought it was such a beautiful, beautiful story to tell. And so here we have all these planets in Aries. And I just wanted to briefly go over, what are we working with? We're working with Mercury in retrograde in Aries. That's April 21st till May 15th. Be careful with travel. Be careful with signing contracts, making agreements, making big changes. It's just not designed to be the right time for taking big action forwards. It's a better time for all the RE words: reassessment, review, retake, remake, all the RE words, including rejuvenate, relax, rest. Sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about travel, freedom, and philosophy. And with Pluto retrograde in that sign, we could be rethinking our philosophy of life. We could be rethinking the big questions. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? We could be rethinking our ideas about where we live or where we want to travel or where we want to go, because Sagittarius is about foreign travel and philosophy. And Pluto, the planet, is all about transformation. So we're going through just super deep, 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 deep emotional transformation right now. So it's okay. It's like the story, right? We think everything's over. It feels like a death, perhaps, because Pluto is death and rebirth, but it's really the rebirth. And anyone who has witnessed, like I've held a pet as it died, and I actually felt its soul leave its body. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It was like rainbow light racing into infinity. And I felt just so much joy from my pet. I was so sad. I didn't want him to die. And yet when he took that journey over the Rainbow Bridge, I could only celebrate with him. I mean, I was sad. I cried. But I could feel his joy at going into a better place. And I feel like we're metaphorically perhaps going through a sort of death experience of things ending, things releasing, and it could feel scary, it could feel overwhelming, but it is actually a rebirth. So how much can we trust this process? How much can we surrender to our hearts and to the arms of the universe? How much can we let go and allow this process to unfold? Breathe, go out into nature and honor it, honor it, honor the grief, honor the sadness, be with it, love it, and let it go. And then we have the Sun conjunct Uranus coming up May 9th, and that's going to be so much excitement, so much energy, and it's a buildup. So if you're feeling it, that could be what you're feeling. Sun conjunct Uranus. So this is an old write-up, but I thought I'd read it to you. The Sun represents vitality, and Uranus is the planet of revolutionary enlightenment. With the Sun conjunct Uranus in Aries today, it's going to be in Aries, there could be a fire burning brightly in your desire to express your individuality in a progressive or unconventional way. Sudden departures and urges to break free are more than likely to occur for you in one form or another. This is an ideal day to assert your individuality and to let your freak flag fly by thinking outside the box and expressing radical new ideas. So when the Sun and Uranus come together, there can be a lot of enlightening things, seismic shifts in consciousness, electrical awakenings. It's predictably unpredictable. Events, people can shift us into a new paradigm, can reveal where we are not free, and to wake us up, waking us up, okay? And at the same time, we have all of these planets in a fire sign: Mercury, Uranus, the North Node, Vesta, the Sun, Pluto. The Sun is in Aries, and the North Node, which is our karmic destiny point, collectively, is in Aries as well, and it's conjunct Vesta. And Vesta is an asteroid all about discipline, discipleship. It's all about our focus, our connection to our highest path. And when Vesta, which is our highest path, and the North Node, which is our purpose, come together in Aries, you better believe we are fired up right now. We're wanting to take action. We're wanting to charge forwards. We're wanting to bring the fire of our devotion, the fire of our intensity, the fire of our purpose into action. And it's Aries is the warrior goddess, the warrior god. So we're feeling this strong desire to fight for what we truly wish for, what we truly desire in our lives. Bring the fire, bring the passion, bring the purpose, take action. However, at the same time, right, we have the Pluto retrograde, we have Mercury retrograde. So there's a lot juxtaposed and going together that we're working with. It's a little bit complex. It's got a lot of flavors. It's a good time to take it slow and to allow yourself to just go with the waves, right? And today, planet of love and money went into Gemini. So Mercury is retrograde and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And so there's a real deep connection between the Mercury retrograde and Gemini. And so with Venus there, the planet of love, it should help to soften some of this intensity with Mercury being retrograde, right? We might get a little more communication now. Things might be a little bit easier for us to express ourselves, to take action, to network, to build social alliances, because Gemini is the ideal, like, best social networker, marketer, people person. They love to talk to people. They love to express themselves. They love to travel and learn and meet new people. It's a really electric, it's an air sign. So it's someone who likes to just be constantly in motion, right? So we kind of may feel, and today Venus and Mars are both in Gemini. So there's a lot of communication wanting to happen, even with Mercury retrograde. So I think I expect things to lighten up a bit here. And by May 15th, May 16th, you're definitely going to have a lot more permission from the planetary energies to charge forwards. It's going to be so much power to move forwards. Of course, May 15th, when it goes direct, whenever Mercury changes signs, so it goes from direct to retrograde, is when you feel it the most intensely. And then when it goes out of retrograde and begins to go forwards is also when you feel it the most intensely. So be careful on the beginning of a retro and the very end of the retro, and all during it, of course. And so maybe about a week after May 15th, maybe around May 20th, I expect things to be moving forwards with a bit more pizzazz, a bit more charm, a bit more ease. All those ideas you've had, I bet they're going to just be flowing forwards. You're going to be wanting to take action. It's going to be easier. It's going to be the sun in Taurus by then, which is calmer. It's ruled by Venus. It's about love. It's about beauty. It's about nature. It's a great time to go on picnics, to frolic in the flowers, to work in your garden. It's going to be a lot more calm on many levels. And yeah, perhaps that beautiful love will come into our lives. So for now, I really just want to invite you to remember that in all of the chaos happening externally, all of the many different planetary energies that seem to be pulling us this way and that way and triggering and pulling up so much, there is a quiet center. There is a peace and calm within our hearts and within our soul that connects us both to the Mother Earth, to the heavens, to the sun, and to our own hearts. And there is a point of infinite consciousness, a shining light that shines within the heart, a bright jewel of love. And I just want to invite you all, as you go through the next couple weeks of just so much change, to focus there, to focus on your heart, to trust your heart. Not necessarily your feelings, because those can be influenced by old patterns and fears, but to trust your inner light. And I just wanted to share with you one thing, which I think is coming up a lot. There's something called a terror barrier. And the terror barrier is basically our conscious mind or our unconscious mind. When change is happening, it says no. It tries to stop it because it's scary for the unconscious when something is new. And so a terror barrier can be compared to an airplane. So like an airplane, when it's flying, it's moving forwards. That's like us. We're moving forwards. We're like that airplane. It's going to hit a sound wall. And that sound wall is like resistance. And that resistance, the airplane can do one of two things. It can stop and go back the other way and give up, or it can charge through that sound barrier and fly. And I think a lot of us are up against that wall right now because we're being asked to expand and grow so deeply into our purpose, into our calling, into what we're here for. And I just want to invite you to take some deep breaths, to release the tension and the stress, to release the striving and the need to go anywhere but here. Come back to your heart. Connect to that beautiful seed of light that lives there. Trust in your roots, to feel your roots. Allow any dark or negative energy to dissipate and release and to be sent to the light. Call on the light within for every situation, every person, every fear, every anxiety, every issue in your life, to call on that light within. To pray for healing, to pray for ease, pray for safety and support. And breathe it in. Call on that light within to shine brightly, to illuminate your being, transmute all the issues and challenges, and bring in the deepest love imaginable. What if we truly are all in the right place at the right time? We signed up for this mission, and this might be the best part, just right around the corner. So join me in calling in that beautiful potentiality and reality. Know that you are so deeply loved. I send you love and blessings from my heart, from this earth, from the great oneness, the great love that unites us all. And I wish you many, many peace, many blessings for your life, for your mission, for your purpose. May all of your dreams come true. May all of this heaviness and density be released and washed and rinsed and let go and set free. And may all beings on this earth be happy, be healthy, and be free. I send you so much love, so much aloha. Truly, I thank you all. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you all so much for being here. In love and light and gratitude for your precious soul, for the travails you go through, and for the light that you shine even through it all. Aloha from my heart to yours. Namaste.